Hi, everyone, and welcome to our VC Alumni Transfer Student Panelist session today. Today here we have Allison LeBus from UCSB and Blake Ward from Cal Poly Slo. So yeah, how are you guys all both doing today?
I'm doing
really good. Yeah.
Let him go, Blake.
I'll let you talk.
Oh, okay, I'll take it. Yeah, I'm doing good. It's in the middle of midterms right now, so it's been a lot of stress, but it's a beautiful location, and I'm really excited to be here. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
And
it's the same. Super happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me, and just grateful to be back with Ventura College.
Yeah, glad to see you both. So one of our first questions we have here today is, what made you ultimately choose the institution you are currently attending? Because I'm assuming you've likely gotten a couple admissions offers. So what made you choose the place you're at right now?
Do you want to go first, Blake?
Sure, absolutely. I'd love to. You know, there's a lot of things I think that you should factor into your decision on picking a college. For me, there was three things that were really important. It was, you know, cost of living. It was, and people might not like this, rankings, like quality of education, and but finally location. So just briefly, I'll go over a little bit about why. So Cal Poly is ranked #2 in regional universities West for schools that offer master's degrees, but not doctorates. So that was important to me, to go to a school with a good reputation. And then cost of living. So I had to really crunch the numbers about, what was in my budget for going to school and how I was going to make everything work. And finally, just like location. So I have some family in the Central Valley. So it was important to me that I would be able to like be close to them. So that was like huge for me. Somewhere that I knew I could be close to family.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think.
And
sorry, go on.
Are you enjoying it there? Would you say so far?
Oh, it's amazing. I'm having the time of my life.
It's awesome. Go ahead, Allison. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I think Blake's totally like, I agree on a lot of that. Finances definitely played a big role in which institution I picked. I think it's important to minimize how much debt you have to take on. For me, I really wanted to do research and get a PhD, and UC schools are fantastic research schools. So I was really looking into what the department research is. I'm personally interested in quantum information science, and the physics department here's quantum tech industry is huge and booming and works internationally. So that was my main reason. Oh, also they have a nanofabrication lab that's open to undergrads. So I was definitely very excited about that. That was one big reason I picked UCSB. Also, location, it's A, on the beach, it's gorgeous. B, it's pretty close to my family who lives in Oxnard. So it's really nice being like an hour-ish away, because I actually am independent and separate, but if I ever need anything, like my family is close by. So yeah, overall, it's just been, similarly with friends too. Inviting friends up to UCSB has been really nice. So, when you leave to school, you end up with a new social network, and it's kind of nice to have like a bit of both, like have my old friends and some of my newer friends. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, UCSB is definitely a beautiful campus, and the beach there is right there, a couple minutes of walking, right? Not too far.
Like 2 minutes.
Wow, yeah, definitely.
I'm not kidding. It's right next to the house. I listen to the waves crash as I go to sleep. It's amazing.
Oh, awesome. Cool. So our next question we have here is, describe your transition experience in academics and social life.
Allison, do you want to start since I started the last one?
Sure. So academically, I would say it was very different. Ventura College has an 18-week semester, and UCSB has a 10-week quarter. A lot of crunch. I also think Ventura College has a smaller environment with like you get to know the professors a lot more, and that's not necessarily the university experience unless you end up in upper division classes. And even then, the professors tend to care more about research than they care necessarily about that particular class. So I do kind of miss the professor relationships I had at Ventura College, but it's still really good here. The professors are very knowledgeable and very passionate about what they do. And if you ask them what they're doing, they'll talk to you forever, which is amazing. I very much recommend getting to know your professors at university.
Yeah.
Socially, clubs. That's where you're gonna find people. Just go to clubs, put yourself out there, make friends that way. It's helped me a lot. I attend events with housemates and roommates, and that's helped me a ton too. Definitely, your roommates, housemates, those are great places to find friends. And yeah, clubs. What are you interested in? Just join a club for it. It doesn't have to be academic. Like if you like surfing or if you like soccer or something, those are great ways to make friends.
Yeah, awesome. What kind of clubs are you in personally?
Oh, I joined a robotics club. So we're making a robot to kind of look at the lagoon. There's a lagoon on campus. And it's supposed to kind of like map out the lagoon and identify different fish. And we're kind of working with the marine bio department on it. It's very exciting.
Oh, that's cool. Awesome. What about you, Blake?
Yeah, so definitely depending on what school you pick, there's going to be like a lot of different things to think about. So for me, going to Cal Poly meant that I was going to have to move like 2.5 hours away to go to school, which is, it's hard. I mean, a lot of the things that you do on a daily basis, it can be easy to take for granted before you leave, but I had to, I had to find somewhere to live. I had to go grocery shopping at a new grocery store. You know, there's a lot of things. I used to live with my dad, and I'm not living with my dad anymore. So there was a lot of stuff that I had to take care of, and yeah. So I think it's been really challenging, but it's so extremely rewarding to get the chance to be here at an esteemed university. And I'm so grateful to Ventura because I had so many great cohorts, students that were just so smart, and we're all just like doing really good things. I'm really proud of us.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, definitely getting into a new routine can be kind of rough at first, and especially in a new environment. Would you say that, or one question I had, do you drive on campus? Did you bring your vehicle with you, or are you just commuting everywhere at Slo?
Yes, I did have to bring my car. So I'm lucky that I live close enough to campus that I can actually walk. But that is something that is like it's a whole adventure in and of itself, is like just trying to like navigate the road systems and trying to find where I'm going. It's pretty
Yeah.
pretty fun.
Do you get any parking issues? Because I know some institutions have a bit of an issue with getting enough parking spots for their students.
If there is a problem, I'm not super familiar with it,
Mhm.
to be completely honest with you.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Good to hear. Awesome. Yeah. So cool. Our next question that we have here is, how active are you seeking internships or research in your first year of transferring?
Yeah, so this is a great question, and I think some people who may be familiar from the time that Allison and I were at Ventura College will remember that I have personally had a few jobs while in school. So one of the jobs that I did have is I was a math tutor on campus, and then after that, I actually did about a year internship of engineering at the U.S. Navy base there in Port Hueneme. So I think internships and work experience are like crucial to a good education. Having experience is like the only way that you can really apply the theory that you learn in class. So that's a really big deal. And then, but right now I'm really just sort of focused on my education because I'm thinking about going to grad school. So that's an adventure of itself. Yeah.
Yeah. And kind of building off of that for you, do you have any recommendations for students on applying to internship? Because I know there can be that initial intimidation of feeling, oh, I don't think I'm good enough to get this type of job.
Yeah, definitely. I think you just have to put yourself out there and present yourself in a way that, you know, people will take you seriously. Yeah.
Mhm. Awesome. And what about you, Allison?
Oh, and I
Yeah.
think Dr.
Oh,
Cal
sorry.
has a question.
Oh.
About that maybe?
Yes. Hi, Blake. Thank you for sharing your experience about internship. As you know, I am a new faculty here, and one of the things that we try basically to revive is going to be those internship courses that we have. Can you tell us a little bit what type of courses did you use? How long basically your internship lasts, and basically was it paid, unpaid? You know, because here I heard that they have two type of internship, unpaid and paid, you know, those sort of things. If you can provide us with more information about that one, I greatly appreciate. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. So, so both of the jobs that I did while I was at Ventura were paid.
Good.
Yeah, and with respect to like what classes did I take that I used when I was working, I would honestly say all of them. You know, we'll just start with the math. I think with math and physics, you need to have an understanding of how, for example, the equipment you might be working with, how they work in the real world, and you really get to see application of that in the field and in industry. Yeah, but then also computer science too, because you need to have an intuition for how the computers work and what they're doing.
Okay, internship that you had is it was as part of a course which is called internship, or just a general internship you are talking
No,
about?
this was just a general internship. Yeah, I wish I
Okay.
had known that you could get course credit for an internship when I had been at Ventura.
Yeah, basically here they have two generic one that it's going to be from 1 to 4 credits, you know, and they can basically customize it for 1 credit or 4 credit. But we have 2 computer science internship that they are 3 credit each, you know. So I would like to get more information on that one. You know, if but apparently you didn't use those courses for your internship. It was a generic internship. Is it correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Awesome. And yeah, what about you, Allison? How actively are you seeking internships or even research? Because I know you mentioned that's what you wanted to get into.
Yeah, I was. So I also did an internship over the summer with a research institution here at UCSB called Quantum Foundry. And they did invite me to continue further, although I had some stuff going on in my life, so I had to decline it. But through that internship, I actually got in touch with a lot of faculty, and I'm actually kind of getting involved in research here already. I think I was, as soon as like the first quarter, I don't think it was that hard to get involved in research. Kind of just reach out to professors you're interested in, explain to them why you're interested in what you're doing. They love seeing that, especially if you follow up a couple times and try to work and be manageable on their schedule. That's really something that's going to help you. On the internship side, I was looking at internships for a little bit, and I still kind of look at them, but I do care more about research at this point. There's a ton of people in the engineering department, and I'm sure this is true for most schools, that help you build resumes, help you find internships, help you with interview skills. I definitely recommend reaching out to the resources around you, because it's totally possible to get an internship, even coming out as a community college transfer. I also recommend you find kind of professors who really remembered your work at Ventura, and you can still ask recommendations from them. That's a good opportunity. to get letters of recommendation, because if you're signing up for like 3 or 4 internships, you might need like 5, 6, 7 letters of recommendation. So yeah, definitely look at the resources your school has, and that's really going to help you find your internship, find your research, put yourself out there. Don't be afraid. I think it's really easy to go, oh, I'm an undergrad, I don't know what I'm doing. Everyone who's an undergrad doesn't know what they're doing, except for a couple people. Don't worry about them.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's kind of where you're supposed to be. And I think that's what the people doing research understand. And I think that's what the people who are putting out the internships understand. They're trying to get you experience, trying to build you up so that you can work as an employee or as a researcher later on in life. So take it as an opportunity to learn, and not, oh, I need to already have learned to attain it, because that's not really what internships are for.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for sharing that information. I know you had mentioned earlier in one of our questions that sometimes it is kind of difficult to have that close connection with professors. When you speak with a professor that you're interested in research, what kind of approach do you have usually to be able to schedule some time with them? Because obviously, like you said, they're more concentrated on their type of research. So it sounds like it might be a little difficult to always catch a good time with them.
Yeah, it really depends on the professor. I talked to a lot of people about different advice on how to reach out. So one thing I did was talk to my advisor about a specific professor, and sometimes your advisors are going to know about how to reach out to specific professors. Otherwise, you can email that professor. They might see it, get excited, forget to email you back. So I always recommend making a follow-up email within like 3 days, a week tops. Just be like, hey, remember me? I still want to do that thing. I'm very excited. I recommend, if you're interested in research with a specific professor, they almost always have a website, and you can go on and look at what they're doing. Name drop some stuff they're doing. Show you're interested. Like, show that you actually did a little bit of research on them and that you're someone who fits that lab. That's really not a lot of work to go look at a website and kind of go, oh, I noticed you do XYZ. And I like those things because I learned about them in this class, or I heard a little bit about them at this talk I listened to or something. I don't know. The other thing is, the professors might be busy or not looking at their emails. So reach out to their grad students, actually. If you met them as a TA, or you can go on their website and see who their grad students are. Their grad students check their emails way more regularly. And so you can be like, hey, maybe I haven't met you, or if you did meet them, remind them of where you met them. Be like, I'm really interested in researching with this professor. I'm struggling to get in contact with them. Do you know if you can maybe set up like a meeting, right? Or tell them about me. And I've actually had professors tell me that a lot of their students come from recommendations from their TAs. And that they really appreciate that, because that's the TAs getting them students, and that's kind of like something off of their plate.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And when you mentioned TAs, from what I've heard from other students as well, is that some TAs are also doing their own research as well. And I'm not sure if you know anything about this type of topic, but I heard that some students can also research under a TA as well as an alternative to a professor. And I just kind of wanted to hear what your thoughts were and your knowledge on that.
Yeah, so that's actually kind of what you do as an undergrad, is you research under a TA most of the time, at least in my experience. So when I did my internship over the summer, I was under Linda Petzold's computer science, but I only talked to her once. I actually did most of my work with a TA, and it was his project for the most part. And that's really who I communicated with. This new professor I'm researching with, immediately he got me with a TA so that I could learn more about what he's doing, and he could teach me, or a grad student, I guess at that point he's not my TA. But yeah, so grad students are really who you're researching under if you're a undergrad. There might be some rare chance that you don't, but I think at the level that the professor's at, you need someone to help guide you to be an effective member of the team. And that's where you're not really directly under the professor, you're more of like under a grad student.
Gotcha. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for that information. And real quick to shift tracks here, we had a question in our Q&A for Professor Fazilpour. Did you want to answer that? It's from Kevin, and he wanted to ask what courses are there for the I believe the internship courses. That's when that was asked.
Yeah, basically internship. I'm looking at expansion of the programs. Currently, we have two internship courses in computer science, but they are inactive because they have not been offered for some times. First, we have to activate. Then we had a few days ago a meetings, and there are two internship courses that they are generic, and we can easily start basically offering those things. But there are some limitation on the number of the courses that students pass so far in order to qualify to register, for example, 60 credit or 70 credit. I'm not sure how that one is going to work with our CS students, So basically, I'm working on it, either we can revive it very quickly through that generic one, but we have to see what's the requirement about it. If there is 60 or 70 basically credit requirement for it, then just a student who already passed that so many credits, they're gonna qualify for it. Then those two generic things, one of them is non-paid, that I'm not sure how much for our student, especially in computer science. It's very competitive, maybe it's not very attractive to students to do that one, But the paid one, we have to find out basically the company, but I think for majority of courses that we have, like CSV 11, fundamental programming, or CSV 13, object-oriented programming, V30, C++, V40, Java, any of those courses, especially maybe we can start, with object-oriented programming, C++ and Java, we have to look at it, frankly, as we need to see if really a student that they are applying for that one, especially the person who asked that question, if you can share with us how many credit you passed so far, or at least type it on a chat window, how many credit you have passed those students that they are in CS program. That one, it's gonna give me some idea, because I think we have 8 people there, and if we know how many credit you have passed so far, I can basically have a better idea how we can approach it. But mostly it's gonna be, I think, the minimum requirement. I don't know how much they are flexible to waive that one. So we have to look at that one. As you know, I'm new, I'm looking on all those sort of things, But any of you, if you have any information to share with me, or you have been through any of those internship program in the past, maybe in other sister colleges, I don't know, maybe in Morpar or Oxnard, they have internship courses active. I'm not sure about that one, But in our camp, in our college, basically Ventura College, those two CS are inactive at this moment, and we have to activate them, and we have to go through curriculum process, But for the time being, we can use that generic one. But the minimum requirement is there, so we have to see how that one is going to play. So if any of you are interested to type how many credits so far you completed, at least it can give me some idea. I think it was 60 or 70 when I read the requirement.
Okay. Awesome.
Hopefully
Thank you.
I answer your questions.
Yeah. And for anyone else as well, feel free to keep asking questions throughout the event, and we can either get through it during this while we talk or sometime at the end. So don't forget to use our Q&A or the chat, and we'll try to get back to you on that. And thank you, Professor Fazilpour. So our next, coming back to our panelist questions, the next question we have here for you two is, how is the school atmosphere compared to Ventura College's campus and staff? And I know you guys talked about this a little bit before, but what kind of other details maybe that we didn't discuss would you like to share?
Do you want to go first, or should I?
Sure. I really like UCSB a lot. I think that this part will be different depending on what campus, but I feel like it's a very collaborative culture. I feel like UCSB students, we're all like sharing information, helping each other on homework. It's definitely very more collaborative than I would say. It is competitive, but I definitely get a little more bit of a collaborative atmosphere from it. And the campus itself is beautiful and gorgeous, and that really does impact you. I think walking around has helped me a lot clear my head, especially after a tough lab or a tough test. The library is giant and huge, and the upper floors are really, really quiet. That's a great place to study and just really focus. There's a lot of places to be on campus. It's just really relaxing and nice. I think the campus almost feels a bit more like a tiny city. There's like kind of supplemental food programs, and there's just like little cafes. There's nice places to go exercise, walk, and bike. And I definitely think that's something that makes it easier to basically live on campus, because as a computer engineering student, it's where you spend most of your time. I also live really close by, so I bike to class. It's about a 15-minute bike ride. So I just really appreciate the atmosphere that UCSB offers, and the kind of community it has is really nice.
Yeah, and a little bit more on the type of staff you get there. So for example, maybe like the administrative system and just your counselors in general. How would you say your experiences with those type of people?
Yeah, UCSB's counselors are really on it with transfers, at least in the engineering department. I've heard some different experiences from Letters of Science transfer students, but I really felt supported by my transfer counselor a lot, and she really helped me navigate like, hey, I know this is how it worked at community college. Let's figure out how to like transition you in a way that might be helpful and productive, help you be a successful student. Overall, I would say the administration's not the best. I think it can be kind of bureaucratic and slow. I think that's true of a lot of state schools. So I don't know about California, UCSB in particular, but if you need something else outside of kind of like your counselor, it's kind of frustrating, to be honest. But in that sense, I really appreciated Ventura College more. I felt like if I had a problem or something, it was almost really simple to get it dealt with. And here it's definitely like, oh, this department does this, and oh, this department does that. And you're like getting constantly bounced between departments and stuff for small things.
Yeah. What's an example of a problem you had that was kind of frustrating to get resolved?
This is kind of COVID related, but there's a supply shortage of the cards that you need, like the ID cards, and I still don't have mine. And I need it to get into the library at night. So it's just like there's some frustrating. I was trying to get that dealt with, and there's just some frustrating stuff in that sense. But overall, when you're dealing with the engineering department or you're dealing with transfer counselors and stuff, the school is extremely excellent. Very quick to respond, constantly getting, I can get an advisory meeting really quickly, and the people are really good at like remembering me and addressing my needs. So yeah, in the engineering department, it's fantastic.
Yeah. And kind of going back to earlier when you said you had commuted using your bike, I know UCSB is known for their bike lanes throughout their campus. Are there other alternative forms of kind of transportation? Like you guys have a transit system or anything else that's available for students to use?
Yeah, the bus system is free for students, I believe. And I've roommates and stuff who use it all the time. It seems to work from what I've heard. I've personally not used it though. There's also skating lanes if you're not into biking. There's like a whole network for skating on campus.
Awesome.
There's free, we call them birds. They're the electric scooters, or not free, but they're all over the place. They're pretty cheap. So transportation's not, I wouldn't say is a problem over here. Parking's definitely a problem, but getting to campus is not a problem.
Oh yeah, definitely. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And Blake, do you have anything to contribute to that as well?
Yeah, I mean, as much as I love administrators, my favorite my favorite part of Cal Poly is, the faculty. The people that I'm meeting are just like so fantastic. What I admired the most about Ventura College is when I was there, I felt like the teachers, they really had a vested interest in their students, and for the most part, they wanted to see them do well. And I like to think here at Cal Poly, it's the same.
Yeah.
But so how does the school compare, right? That was your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's definitely a little bit bigger here. You know, the library at Cal Poly is like 5 stories tall. So it's huge. It's a big campus. But something my brother told me that really stuck with me is he said, you know, it doesn't really matter where you go to school. It's they all teach the same book. So, you know, and it's true. It's like a lot of these classes teach the same topics. So just really remember, you know, remember to be like open-minded and patient with what school you decide to go to. Any school that you go to is going to have resources for you to take advantage of. So really just like, yeah.
Yeah. And I know Cal Poly has kind of their motto of hands-on learning as their type of way that they educate their students. So in terms of research opportunities, what is that like getting that at Cal Poly Slo?
What I will tell you about that, Angela, is that there are opportunities on campus for you to do research. You just have to really try your best to look for them and seek them out, you know.
And would you say the professors on campus are kind of focused as well on research as well? Or is there a type of thing that you would say that, how is it getting connected with your professors as well?
So about classroom size, I would say that it's been pretty similar in terms to like what I was doing at Ventura College. I think actually it's funny, the largest in-person class that I've had, a little bit of a tangent, but like, you know, it's really difficult with COVID right now, but in-person classes, the biggest class that I have had was at Ventura. It was a chemistry class. I think we had like 100 students in one big room. And that was the biggest one I've had. I mean, most of my engineering classes here are like no more than 30 people, if that, if not like 10 or 15. Yeah.
So you'd say it's a little bit easier to get connected with a professor.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, totally. And they really just care about you and want to see you do well.
Would you say professors are doing their own research at Cal Poly Slo as well, or are they focusing on other types of projects?
I think that it is more of a teaching institution, and you can see that reflected in the performance of the students, particularly in undergrad, but also the graduate program here does good things.
Yeah, awesome, definitely. And just kind of going over more of the atmosphere of your campus. What are your favorite, I guess, physical characteristics about your campus?
It's so outdoorsy, I guess you could say. It's really like a rural environment, although it's kind of funny because I don't really feel necessarily like I'm out in the woods because, you know, I basically live on campus. I'm always in classes or studying the library. But when I do want that opportunity to go out and perhaps go hiking or go to the beach and go swimming, those things are here to do.
Yeah, awesome, definitely. Yeah, and from what I get, Cal Poly Slo and UCSB are college towns, both of them. So on the weekends, you guys get to go downtown and hang out. Yeah. So awesome. So let me see. Do we have any questions?
And we do have one question from the chat.
Oh, right.
Yeah, if you want to take that.
So for Blake and Allison, I should have asked this at the beginning, but what are you both majoring in?
Trying to go, Blake.
Yeah, so I'm currently majoring in computer engineering.
Yeah, same, computer engineering. And I'm actually trying to get a physics minor. We'll see how that goes.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. And so our next question that we have for you both is, or let me take a look. And hopefully that answered your question, William. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop it and we'll get to you. And yeah, going back, our final question before we have it open to our attendees is, what has been your greatest challenge since transferring, and what have you done or are currently doing to address it?
I think for me, I know this is maybe not the most typical, but definitely like health related stuff has been the most difficult. I would really recommend, even if you don't have health problems as a person, just making sure you know what your safety net is. Navigating the American medical system is really messy. So knowing where your options are and what services the school campus actually offers versus what services you need to get off campus. I really recommend getting connected with a school or local doctor first thing, kind of start things off smoothly. So if you do have an issue, someone knows you and you don't have to, restart everything from scratch as soon as you get there. As soon as you're having a problem, kind of like start your foundation strong. So I would definitely recommend other things. I think maybe that you don't always think about when you're alone, kind of like how do you deal with, like Blake was saying, grocery shopping and stuff. Just making sure you have a plan around those things. If financially things are tough or there's maybe a transportation issue, just trying to find your resources around you so that you can continue being a successful student despite those troubles that you're facing.
Awesome. Yeah. And you had mentioned there's like different health clinic stuff on campus. What type of, could you elaborate more on what UCSB specifically offers for students?
Yeah, so they have a clinic on campus with doctors and a pharmacy and everything. And they don't do it all medical needs, of course. So, but you can get recommendations through them. UCSB has their own health insurance. I don't know if that's how every school does it. I think so, because I think Ventura even had a health insurance. But if you do accept their school's health insurance, find out what you can get through them. So what specialists you might need, or if you're just going in for like a cold or if you broke an arm or something, find out what they can actually provide you in that sense. They're not an emergency service, of course, but they can be really helpful and useful and sometimes really cost effective compared to going to a regular urgent care or a regular doctor with your old health or family's health insurance.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of building off of that as well, does UCSB offer kind of mental health support and that type of stuff for students as well?
Yeah, they do. I think most campuses do this. I'm not sure if it's just UCSB, but they have a 24/7 helpline. So you can always reach out and try to get mental health help there. There's resources that you can reach out to and find. Yeah, mental health is definitely something to take seriously. Definitely look into your campus's mental health resources. That was very important.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you for sharing. All right, Blake, what about you? What type of challenges
Oh my
have you gone through?
gosh, transferring, let me tell you something. They talk about the freshman 15, it's like the transfer 20. Yeah, I think it's super important that when you are transferring that you take care of your health and wellness, right? So it's like the habits that you take with, that you leave with, you're going to be the ones that you take with you when you transfer. So really keep in mind sort of just the day-to-day operations of what you do today and what you need to plan for when you get to university. So like the hard truth is when you get accepted to a school, they're choosing you as a part of a prestigious program. But reputable schools are not easy. In your first year, you're going to be adjusting to an entirely new environment. You have to get comfortable in a new home around new people while taking the most advanced classes you have taken up until this point. So you really just got to again, focus on what you're doing day to day, the food that you eat. For me, a big part of feeling good is exercising to kind of just like blow off stress after school. But there's lots of good things to get engaged on your campus that you can do.
Yeah, and kind of building off of health and fitness stuff. From what I remember, Cal Poly Slo does have a fitness center. Is that something that's free to students? Do they have to pay? And if you have gone in there, what would you say your experience is like there?
So it's a part of the tuition fees that you do pay when you go to Cal Poly, that you get free access to the rec center. And I mean, I think at one point we were like the best in the West, the biggest gym, the west side of Mississippi, something like that. I hope I
You guys
have
have a
my
rock
facts straight.
wall, right?
It's great. It's really good.
Mhm. And I just bouncing back to Allison at UCSB, I'm not as familiar. And the recreation center there, is that open to all students? Do you have any fees to pay for when you're there? Are there any restrictions and et cetera?
Yeah, it's open to all students. It comes part of your tuition. I personally haven't been. I like walking on the beach. I tend to
Yeah,
exercise on the beach.
Mhm.
I used to do a lot of gym when I was back in Ventura, but with COVID, I think everything's outside right now. I'm not sure. I just haven't messed with it personally as of yet. But I've heard it's a good rec center, so I haven't been.
Awesome. Yeah. And back to Blake, I wanted to ask, when you were talking about kind of scheduling and getting your dieting and exercise more consistent, what kind of helped you get more organized? Because I know sometimes it's easy to say, yeah, I need to start getting in shape again. I need to start eating right. But sometimes it's hard to be consistent with that. How would you say that? What type of methods did you use to be more consistent with all of that?
It is so hard to manage your time effectively, but it is essential part of being successful in university. Managing your time, working in a calendar. But yeah, so I that's something that I struggle with a lot actually, is being effective with my day to day and how many hours I have to be productive.
Mhm.
I would say that if you're feeling challenged, like a lot of us do, you just need to try to put yourself out there with with uh, with activities, whether that's going to club meetings or going to the gym, maybe
Mhm.
even just taking a few hours to sit down and do your homework.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of just for Allison as well, how do you deal with maintaining that work-life health balance with everything? Because definitely going to a university and new environment is going to bring all those new challenges. And I know everyone's still trying to calibrate that system themselves, but how do you deal with that personally?
Yeah, I'd agree with Blake. It's really tough. I think that's the crux of living a successful life, is managing that. I think we have a really perfectionist culture that tells you you've never got it down, even when you do. And for me, it's been a lot of like calendars, planners, and that type of stuff. Kind of like really, I like having a more visual, kind of quantitative way of seeing how I'm doing. I think the toughest thing for me though is I put more than I can handle, and you really need to value your rest time. It's so essential and important after a big test or after a really hard week of assignments. You need to rest. You need to like play video games or do whatever you do to enjoy life, or you need to go exercise. Those are really important things. So it's when you're planning your life, don't just think, okay, yeah, I have to go grocery shopping. I need to, do this for school. Like also think like, oh, when am I going to have fun and make sure that you protect that time, because that's what's going to keep you going so you can be a successful student.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you both for that advice. Awesome. Well, thank you for answering the main questions on our panel today. Now we're going to go to our Q&A. So I see we have a couple questions here. For all our other attendees, don't be afraid to drop a question and we'll try to get through as many of them as we can here.
And
So
before
go ahead, Dustin.
Before we move on to that, Owen Davis actually just joined, so maybe we could get him caught up with some of the questions. I'm going.
Yeah, definitely.
I know we're kind of running a little bit lower on time, but let me.
Or Allison and Blake, are you available to stay a little bit more?
I have time. Yeah, we're great. We're doing great.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so let me welcome in Owen Davis. He is a computer science student or studying computer science at UC Riverside. So we'll ask him a couple questions, maybe not all of them, but a couple of the important ones we can have him ask, and then we'll move to the Q&A.
Yes, we also have some good questions in the Q&A, so we'll get to those.
Yeah.
Sorry that I had to run late. I wasn't expecting something to come up that did, so I'm sorry. Where would you like me to start?
Yeah,
Hi,
no worries.
Owen,
Life
welcome.
happens.
Yeah, we understand. Thank you for joining us today. And one of the questions that I had asked the other panelists was, let's see here. One of the ones I asked was, how active are you seeking internships or research in your first year of transferring?
So I'm a bit of an edge case there because for my first quarter at UC Riverside, which is where I'm at now, I just wanted to focus on, adjusting to quarter system, campus life, things like that. And I actually got headhunted for research then in this quarter. Because,
awesome.
Last quarter, even though we were remote and people were having difficulty connecting with their instructors, I asked lots of leading questions that the instructor liked, really appreciated the engagement. So she just offered me a position, which goes to show, even though when you get to the bigger UC system where it's hard to make connections with faculty members, they still really appreciate it.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, thank you. And kind of building off of that, in terms of the faculty and staff, how easy is it to connect with your professors and get those different, because I know you said you had been headhunted, but how easy is it to connect with your professors just to talk about your classes or general information you want to ask them?
Now, it is kind of hard in the classes where there's over 100 people, but if you engage them during class and office hours, they are pretty receptive. It's just, don't expect them to have a lot of time for you. You will often have to deal with TAs and, for example, they expect you to just read over lots of bulk emails that you get sent over the quarter as primary communication. So they don't always discuss everything in the class just because they don't have a lot of time to deal with the quantity of students. So yeah, I found that it is possible as long as you really put yourself out there for them, but it is definitely student-led as opposed to kind of the 50-50 split back at Ventura.
Awesome. Thank you. And the last one I'll ask from the main question set was, what has been your greatest challenge since transferring, and what have you done or are currently doing to address it?
Oh, well, I actually got a solid piece here. And I believe when I came in, you were discussing work-life balance, which kind of plays into it. I discovered during the pandemic that I have obsessive compulsive disorder, which meant that, as the pandemic continued to go on, I spent more and more time at the sink, cleaning up, stuff like that. And it got disruptive. So I went and did my best to get help and everything. And I realized everybody has been super supportive, both back home and here, but it was a exercise in learning to work with the needs that you have while pursuing education. Because, for example, I reached out when I was getting my housing to the Disability Resource Center to see if the conjoined room to mine could only have one person while I'm adjusting so that I worry less about germs and whatnot while I'm improving. And they actually said, we've never done anything like that, no. But then I reached out to housing and they said, oh yeah, go right ahead, get well soon. So it also shows you don't know who's gonna be able to help you with what you need, so don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah, awesome. And thank you for sharing that personal information. We really appreciate it. And that's great to hear that UC Riverside has a supportive system for students. Awesome. So bouncing back to the Q&A, and this is a question that everyone here can answer. It's, I guess, for each of your institutions, what is the main difference between computer science and computer engineering class-wise as a transfer student?
I don't know how big the differences between classes between Cal Poly and UCSB. I would imagine they're pretty similar. but I would say that at Cal Poly, the computer science program and the computer engineering program are basically the same thing. I mean, there might be like 2 or 3 tech electives that are different. Yeah, I would say that computer engineering is like computer science with a concentration in electronic circuit analysis, EE, electrical engineering.
Awesome. And what about for you, Allison?
Yeah, so I would say similar, except I think there's a little bit of more of a divide here. The UCSB wants you to take more electrical engineering as a transfer. Also, computer engineering is a 3-year program here, so it takes a little bit longer to graduate than the normal 4 years. This first year, I'm basically a electrical engineering student. I'm not taking any computer science classes. And that's because UCSB tends not to accept electrical engineering courses from other schools. So they kind of want you to restart on their track. But this next coming up year, I'm going to start getting into the other regular computer science classes. And at that point, it's kind of the lines blurrier on the difference between a computer engineer and electrical engineer. You get to pick which tracks you want. So once you have that foundational classes, they're basically really similar majors.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. And what about you, Owen?
Yeah, I would say I am not the most familiar with computer engineering. I've always been pretty much pure software. And so I'm a computer science student, and I would like to say that in the computer science courses here, you don't have to learn things, say, about voltage and whatnot, but they do eventually get into a very superficial understanding of hardware so that you know how to program a system that can work with whatever components that you're using. So yeah, this quarter they handed me, and I'm sorry, my lamp broke, so I'm in the dark right now. They handed me this, and we're like, okay, Owen, start putting wires in the boards. I'm sorry, this isn't even the most pretty project they gave me. This one's just buttons, and that meant that the cables got all messy because it takes extra to get those to work. But yeah, so I do not have any electrical knowledge, but they do emphasize how to make what you're learning work with all of the good things that Allison will be producing for us.
Yeah, awesome. And kind of just quickly building off of that, I know Allison said that it was going to take her about 3 years. For you, Owen and Blake, are you on as a transfer with all your courses that have articulated and transferred over? Will you both be able to complete it in 2 years, or is that going to take a little longer?
I felt like Blake was going to be so eager to go first that I didn't even try to, but I can go ahead.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, I should be able to complete in 2 years. It depends if I want to not stock up on too many units while I'm doing my research going forwards, but I definitely have the capability to, so long as I decide that's in my best interest, which, you know, not needing to pay for another quarter would be ideal, but I'm keeping my options as open as they can be. So I will be able to finish in that amount of time. And I would like to say I actually, because I got involved in research and am auditing a class, because I felt like I still needed it, even though my transfer articulation said that I didn't, that I am going a little bit slower this quarter. I dropped out of the honors program because I decided I needed to prioritize, and I did not want to do a big capstone research project and my standard research that I'm doing. So I am using my one-time freebie to keep my housing while being under units, while I am gauging how much I can do at once. So I expect to graduate within the next 2.5 years. So I'm either going to finish in 2, or I'm going to take an extra quarter or 2.
Okay, awesome. And then what about you, Blake?
Oh yeah, so definitely it's like difficult, especially big schools, you know, there's problems with administration, and that's tough. Setting class schedules, I don't think transfer students really get their say as much as they really should with like when classes are being taught or how many students are provided seats. It's really difficult for transfer students. But for me, yeah, I'll probably graduate spring of 2023, maybe 2 years, maybe an extra quarter, but probably spring 23.
Awesome. Thank you. And we have one more question in our Q&A for everyone. And that is, as a transfer student, did you feel behind or disadvantaged compared to other students that have already been there for 2 years?
Yeah, I think I did definitely, just for a couple reasons. A, they're friends already. So there's people I saw were talking and stuff. Definitely recommend finding other transfer students in your class. There's actually a lot of, like, I found a lot of other transfer students. So that was really nice. And then also sometimes just getting to know people and start talking to them gets you kind of into those groups, but sometimes that definitely starts off feeling like a disadvantage when you're going into class and people already know each other. Also, the schools tend to have a better idea of what they teach. So coming into some of my classes, they were like, oh yeah, that math class taught this. And I was like, oh man, mine didn't. So a lot of self-teaching on the side. Nothing ridiculous. It was all stuff that like I was generally equipped for. But in that sense, I kind of did feel a little bit disadvantaged. But you know, some going to office hours for the TAs and the professors helped a lot, and they really do want to help. They care about transfer students. There's a transfer student resources and stuff. So there's stuff around to help you overcome those hurdles, but they do exist.
Oh, that's awesome to hear there that there's that type of support. Blake, you want to go next?
Yeah, definitely. Did I feel unprepared when I stepped into class on the first day? Yeah, definitely I did. You know, it was really hard. The classes that we're taking here, you know, they expect a lot out of you, and so I'm just gonna, you know, go ahead and repeat what I said earlier, was that, you know, it's so important that you plan out like your day to day before you get here, so that when you are faced with these obstacles, you're not having to deal with you know, you're not having to deal with creating new habits on top of an already challenging course load. So it's really just important that you be proactive about what you're doing and planning for the future.
Awesome. Yeah. And then Owen?
Yeah, I would say that I felt a little unprepared. My first computer science course here actually reviewed a lot of what I already had known, but then they were going to have me skip the next course in the sequence and go to the last one in the sequence. And since Alan goes here, I actually ran the idea by him because I was like, I'm not entirely sure I learned everything in this class, but they're asking me to not take. And he said, oh yeah, you're gonna want to audit that. So I did, but that's just a way that I am doing self-teaching like Allison is, so that I can fill in whatever knowledge gaps that I have. But then also, as a transfer student, you have a different background than everybody else, even other transfer students, in what you have been taught. For example, the research I got involved in is machine learning, and they are doing 2 projects within that, self-driving cars and measurement of gravitational waves. And Dustin and I believe Allison may have taken it a quarter ahead of us. I don't know, maybe we were classmates, but that just brought me back to physics V6, and I launched into the gravitational wave measuring device that used the different path lengths of light when it was divided by a prism going to the same sensor. And the professor digged it. she hadn't heard of it, and she has a doctorate. So I was like, oh, maybe I am prepared to do things, just not the things that they were planning me to do.
Awesome. And we actually have one more question here for you, Owen, from William. That is, how have you done any internships, and what, if you have, what were your experiences like, and any tips?
I actually haven't done any internships. So far, every work I've done, it was just tutoring for the Mesa Center because I had good relations with them and it was good at the subject enough to offer help. And then here it was also just by showing genuine interest in the material that got me offered a position in research. So my big takeaway would be stay curious about everything that you're doing, as long as you really engage with what you are trying to offer. They tend to see the value of you. Though, again, research is different than an internship, so I can't speak to that experience.
Yeah, thank you for the advice and for sharing. And
Can I just say one more thing?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm sorry. The message that I want to leave students with is that, you know, university life it's really, really difficult, but it's not impossible. So you really just have to try your best and really believe in yourself, because you would be amazed at how far you can go with a little bit of hard work.
Awesome. And I guess just following that train to end the session, Allison and Owen, do you have any final words that you want to give students getting ready to transfer themselves?
Yeah.
I would.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Okay. I would say definitely give yourself time to adjust. Don't judge yourself for having a hard time in an adjustment period in a new school where you're a transfer student, so you're being thrown in the hard stuff. Yeah, I would say give yourself time to adjust. Like Blake said, hard work. Also being mindful about rest and the resources you have around you can go a really long way, and it will get easier.
Yeah. Awesome. And Owen?
My advice for transfers is basically that just because the institution is larger, has more money and whatnot, it doesn't mean that they have everything as together as you would think. Check your email a lot, which everybody should have already had reinforced a lot, but they will, especially with COVID changes. For example, they announced that everybody needed to get tested really, really close to the start of the quarter, and I don't think everybody was able to actually make an appointment. So you need to be on the lookout for certain things, because it's not like the instructors here, they have never made any of those campus-wide announcements in class. So you will get lots of little things that you need to maintain without a lot of warning. And when I was transferring, I was like, wow, there are so many ways that they could have canceled my admission. And I was like, I am very, very lucky that I caught everything that I did. Like, I was checking my email daily and I would still find, oh wait, I somehow missed this one thing that could just entirely cancel my housing application. And I was like, so yeah, I would honestly say be a little bit paranoid about what they may or may not send you, because it's not always as obvious as it should be.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you three, Blake, Allison, and Owen, for your time today. And we hope everyone here enjoyed their time, and you as well as the panelists. And we greatly appreciate just all the wonderful advice and words you've given us today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for having us, Angela.
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate this time.
Yeah, it was great to be here. Also, before Allison heads out, I'm going to make her day.
Thank you, everyone.
I got it? Huh? What?
Oh, he just said thank you.
Thank you,
I got
everyone.
it for Christmas. I haven't had time to read it yet.
Oh my God, yes. It's the best book ever. That's my actual advice: is read Dune.
That's why
I had a good 20 minutes of every computer science club meeting where I tried to spread the good word.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's why I waited until the end, because if you put a dime in the Allison talking about Dune jukebox, you gotta listen to the whole song.
And the movie's great. I definitely recommend the movie.